Mark here. So the question is, how have we contributed to this mess? So what do I mean by we? I mean my tribe. I mean the group that I associate with, consider myself most a part of. We can think of this as body-mind teachers of all kinds. So life coaches, yoga teachers, martial arts teachers, meditation teachers, people involved in personal growth. In all the fields. So it's quite a broad group when I say we. These are the people I mostly hang out with, associate with, teach, friends with, etc. And what I mean by mess, well, Brexit, Trump, the growth of the right, the growing inequality and the destruction of the environment. A few things, huh? So again, pretty broad brushstrokes. This is kind of a soul searching. I wanted this to be more kind of thinking out loud around some of these key issues, which I think is really important, rather than a kind of finger pointing or blame. So I say we, I really do mean that. I've been part of this. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm an embodiment teacher. I work in business. I work with yoga teachers. I train life coaches and therapists. I've been doing that for the last 9 years in different fields. And so yeah, kind of across those different domains that we talked about. Friends with all of them. So when anything happens, there's a number of factors. Obviously, in this, we could look at like the right-wing media or, capitalism, bigger structural factors, absolutely. But there's a nice principle, there's something from 12-step, Alcoholics Anonymous, other 12-step programs, which is saying, what's my part in this? What's my part? And I'm going to be asking, what's our part in this? And it is just a part. I think one can go too far with this and sort of blame people who are also suffering, etc. But what is our part in this mess that's been created? So before I've talked about something called the spiritual industrial complex. That's the idea that spiritual teachers, mindfulness teachers, yoga teachers, etc., we are deeply involved in this system and can actually be making some of those things worse. Main one I see is actually we've taken people away from politics. Yeah, been a bit of resurgence with sort of Bernie or bust and Corbyn and things like that. But we've really taken people away from the political domain completely and said, no, happiness is in the internal domain, rather than try to change external conditions, try to change external circumstances, we should change our internal state. Now, of course, there's truth to both. However, maybe that's swung too far, and we've been part of that, focusing people's attention purely on the inside. And if we think of neoliberalism, which is often considered the dominant kind of philosophy, the kind of philosophy behind many of these kind of unpleasant things, starting with Reagan and Thatcher and people like that, neoliberalism very much focuses on the unit of the individual. And we've also been doing that, yeah? So there's very little collective yoga, or, people talk about community or Sangha, but it's often very much lip service. The emphasis here is on you and your retreat and you feeling good. I think we've really bought into the sort of body beautiful stuff, which again, focusing on the individual. And this kind of second matrix of saying, oh no, you're not a consumerist, you're a radical, you're a rebel because you meditate and you do yoga. And we've been sort of partly responsible for that, which is really just making more efficient drones for the machine, yeah? So I've taught mindfulness in the corporate world. I've been highly critical of this for a few years. I've been involved in it myself, in big business and across the board. I think, have we just made more, we just helping people cope with the unbearable, so it gets more and more unbearable because we help people cope better and better. So what looks like compassion is actually idiot compassion. We're not really helping in that sense. So we've been part of that. Certainly, coaching, we could look at a sort of success thing, and I think yoga is very much brought into that as well these days, being more and more successful, and what that usually means is the acquisition of wealth for the individual or the small family. We've been part of that, haven't we? Definitely been part of that. This promotion of the individual is what matters. Promotion of success on a kind of bodily level, the driving, that kind of side of things that's so common in body-mind practices. We've been part of that. The distraction culture, a much more, it's a very interesting distraction, isn't it? Spirituality, the never-ending, ever colourful, ever interesting spiritual quest to distract us away from the fact that the planet's being destroyed and growing inequality, proto-fascism, if I dare say that is starting to become apparent across the world. So have we been partially responsible for that? Have we prostituted ourselves to the highest bidder? I think we could say yes. And maybe just trying to earn a living, right? Like most of my colleagues, they're not rich, they're just trying to get by. But what that means is they are there's access issues in this work? Have we been partially responsible for sort of growing a spiritual snobbery amongst the left as well that's alienated the right? Many people recently have pointed to that and saying, you know, there's this alienated sort of poor, particularly white, lower class who feel unheard and are kind of lashing out with things like Brexit and Trump. Feel like, have we been responsible for creating this politically correct culture where people feel like they can't speak their minds? They speak their minds in the voting booth in unpleasant ways. A kind of moral superiority. I do yoga. Did you mention I'm morally superior? It's not very attractive, is it? If you're from outside that and you can't afford the yoga studio. Yeah, what's our part in this? What has been our part in this? I think it's a good question, isn't it? I think all these practices can either be, all of them can be deeply radical. You know, there's nothing more radical in kind of consumerist context than uprooting greed, ignorance, and delusion. If our practice is really doing that, there's nothing more radical than making these things accessible to people that need them. It's difficult, though, isn't it, when you're trying to earn a living? Because, you know, I've got a course. Course has a lot of costs. How to get around that? Online stuff, YouTube videos, free places, paid by donation. Jamie Caddo uses that. Difficult one, huh? So there you go. No big answer. See the lines here. It's from the last few days. My jaw actually hurts from sort of gritting and some of the debates of the last few days. How have we been a part of this?